Hi, this is Dr. Matt Silverstein, and I wanted to welcome you to the class, Personality Theory 1, and I wanted to take some time to orient you to the class syllabus. So let's get started. First of all, you can contact me anytime between classes at my Antioch email, msilverstein@antioch.edu. And please also make sure that you are contacting me through your Antioch email so that I can respond to you. We have to use our Antioch email addresses for confidentiality purposes. So what is this course? What is Personality Theory 1? First of all, I want to let you know that I've been teaching this course for about 13 years, and I'm always learning along with you. A lot of what we're focusing on in this class are called psychodynamic theories of personality. Psychodynamic theories are theories that look at the phenomena of the unconscious and looking at ways in which the past can get encoded in the unconscious and how that past can emerge or surface through activations in the present, through projection, through enactments, um, through all kinds of different mechanisms that we'll study. And there are different theorists that have different ideas about how to understand the unconscious, even how to describe the unconscious and how it shows up in a clinical context, and how we as therapists can get skillful in making use of unconscious content and how it would apply toward the therapeutic process, including uh, ways of working with past traumatic situations, particularly perhaps childhood relational traumatic situations, disruptions in early development that can get, again, encoded in the unconscious, and how psychodynamic theory is particularly well suited toward recognizing some of these older patterns and ameliorating them through different clinical techniques. And so there's a lot of different jargon and terminology that comes up in this class: unconscious defenses, transference, internal objects, projection, introjection, projective identification, archetypes, and so on. And just a word to the wise, it can get perhaps a little bit daunting to get oriented to all of these terms in a relatively short amount of time. I would say that the focus of the class is, in fact, not for you to memorize all of these terms, but for you to become oriented to how psychodynamic therapy can work. And some of you may actually find that this is the theoretical orientation that is a good fit for you and something that you might want to make use of perhaps for the rest of your career. And for some of you, this might be the very last class in which you are thinking this deeply about psychodynamic therapy and theories and so on. And that's perfectly okay too. So just as a reminder for low residency, and this is an asynchronous course, so it's particularly important that we make good use of the online space. And because this is asynchronous, we're not going to be meeting together officially, but I am going to invite you to meet with me during office hours periodically over the course, and that gives you an opportunity to interact with me in real time and to ask me questions and to also hear questions from your classmates. Um, but you are expected to participate every week in an online format. We're using the online discussion board. We'll have some presentations. We're going to have some collaborations as well in, for example, reviewing readings for the week. And so you are expected to post every week. And if you don't somehow post, including responding to classmates, that would be considered an absence for the week. So please keep that in mind. And more than 2 absences would result in a no credit. Okay. So let's go toward just the structure of the class and making use of the syllabus. Every week, I do my best to describe what we'll be up to, both in the syllabus, and you will also see this on our Sakai site under lesson plan. Pretty much these two tools should be identical and are different ways of walking you through the class. So I will go into some detail about what's due in the first week. You're asked to do some readings, and I will scroll down later and show you where all of the readings are listed. All of our readings are available on our Sakai site through the resources folder. And that includes the text, the primary text that we're using for this class, which is a text by Berzoff et al. Called Inside Out and Outside In. I really like this text, partly because of the psychodynamic theory texts that I'm aware of. It perhaps delves most deeply into cultural identities and multicultural orientations. I really appreciate that, and we'll get more into why that's so important regarding these set of theories in a little bit. So I'm just asking you this first week to go to the discussion area and post something that just tells us about your interests, any questions or concerns you have about psychodynamic theories, if you're aware of them. How does this class represent a next step in your own life journey? And with the appreciation that psychodynamic theory, in a way, is talking about the journey of one's life, the story of one's life from inception in utero as an early infant and so on up to old age. And so there is this idea that each of us is on this journey. And so if you wanted to just briefly talk about, well, where are you in your own development, and maybe how does school and even coming to this class fit into that for you briefly? And then lastly, the assignment asks you to include a picture of yourself. And I'm asking you to do that partly because every picture has both a conscious aspect, what we think consciously we're presenting, and then there's the unconscious aspect, what it is that we might be hiding or that is actually hidden from our own consciousness. And I'm just asking you to play with that. So for example, I'm looking at myself in my Zoom box, and here I am presenting myself consciously. I'm dressed in this kind of relaxed way. I'm in my home office, and there's some intentionality about how the frame of the picture is composed, and I'm wearing these glasses, which are my blue screen glasses, and I'm sort of holding this combination between being formal and informal. I'm in my instructor mode on the one hand, and yet I'm also, I would say unconsciously, there's this perhaps a little bit of worry, a little bit of, when I even say a little bit, it's just, that's a way to probably point to a lot of it deep down inside. There's always this kind of worry when I'm lecturing or presenting that I'm not doing it quite right, that I'm going to be judged in some way, that I'm not good enough, and so on. And so that's kind of a probably an unconscious tension. Or on the other hand, that I'm going to come across as so full of myself and this kind of sort of just kind of from the neck up type of person. And then it's as if the unconscious in that context would be what's from the neck down. I'm going to pause there. That's a lot more than you would need to share even about yourself, but you get the idea that every frame, every way that we present ourselves has both a conscious and an unconscious aspect. And so I'm just asking you to play with that. And then for this course, the main project is going to be that you're going to choose a fictional character from a film that you will track over the course of the quarter. And that fictional character is going to become your client, fictionally speaking. And so I'm just going to ask you to hold in mind this person over the whole quarter, this fictional person over the whole quarter. And so for this first post, I'm just going to ask you to share a couple of ideas you have about who that fictional character might be that would interest you to stay with. And the one thing I am asking you to do is to stay with that character for the whole quarter so that you can get a sense of how each theory perhaps shows a different facet of that character that would be interesting to you. And you'll be writing up through two different assignments, a case study 1 and a case study 2, your different impressions of that character and then how that gets understood through different theoretical lenses. So I'm just scrolling down here through each week, which I won't go into right now. I do encourage you to read the syllabus more closely. Here are the texts that I've already reviewed, the Berzov text. You are welcome to get a hard copy of the text if you prefer not to read it all online, but it is available as an ebook online as well. So this section here, called the weekly schedule and assignments, is really helpful in that it goes over what the readings are each week. I bold the readings that are most important. So if you had an hour that week to do the readings and you wanted to really just focus on one, go with the bolded text. And here this lecturette is also bolded. So these were the main thing for the first week to make sure you do would be to watch this lecturette and then to also read chapter 1 in Berzov. There are also videos each week that you can view. And if for some reason you come across a video link that is no longer working, please let me know and I'll try to take care of that on the back end. Okay, so this week-to-week structure can be a really good way of just kind of seeing where you are in the class and what's coming up. And you'll see that the first, well, there's going to be a discussion forum every week, pretty much. So a lot of the writing and responding to each other, which I will supervise, is going to take place in the discussion forum online. And often I'm asking you to discuss some of the reading or videos, and then also to respond to each other with a question. And the questions are meant to encourage each other to see things from perhaps different perspectives. Okay, it's not meant to create an opportunity to so much critique your classmates as it is to further and deepen the discussion from week to week. So basically, we're going to be covering about 5 or so main theories. We're going to be studying the work of Sigmund Freud, who's often considered the father of a psychoanalytic or psychodynamic point of view. And we'll be studying Carl Jung, who was a disciple of Freud's, and then Melanie Klein and Donald Winnicott. These are object relations theorists. Heinz Kohut, who developed a school that's called self-psychology, and then we'll also be touching on post-Kohutian schools, which are called relational or intersubjective theories as well. And we'll see if we're going to add on another theory or two. But as you can imagine already, these are all complicated theories that can be studied in and of themselves for long periods of time. There are psychoanalytic institutes that really focus on perhaps one theorist and might study them for literally over years. And not only study them intellectually, but study them experientially by receiving psychoanalytic psychotherapy from that particular orientation. So I just ask for your patience with yourself and with me as we go over these relatively complicated theories in a rather rapid way. But nevertheless, hopefully by the end of the class, you feel like you have a good sense of how psychodynamic theory could be useful, also to have a better sense of what its limitations are. And that's going to conclude my initial review of the syllabus. And I look forward to a really interesting class. And if there are ever questions that you have about the syllabus or specifics of the syllabus, do feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to talk about the cultural context more generally and the limitations of these theories in another lecturette. But for now, I think as an orientation to the lecture, orientation to the syllabus, and as an introduction to myself, I'll leave it here. Thanks, everybody.